Gen Z has changed it into 자보고 만남 추구. It's like have sex first and then meet. So it's the same word.
Have sex first and then meet.
Yeah. So you check out your sexual compatibility.
Yeah.
And then you have casual, sex and whatever, and then you start dating.
And then you start dating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the word itself, the terminology has changed. The same word has changed among different generations.
Yeah, like two meanings.
Yeah.
This weird question that we're going to start with, but embrace the ick, my dude. How famous are you? Can you go to coffee shops in Korea? How does that work?
Are you first serious or
Yeah.
no? I am nothing near famous or anything. I'm just an
Okay.
ordinary Korean dude.
No.
아저씨 at this point, and nobody recognizes me. But I do have some areas that I try to avoid, like Hongdae, like the
Okay.
busking area, or like Yonsei University. Like when I walk down the campus and all, I get recognized sometimes. But other than that, I'm just living my free life, and it's good. Yeah, life is good.
What's it like getting recognized?
Oh, I'm actually very happy because, it's not like celebrities that get their lives intruded, like privacy or anything. It's just like once in every month, someone comes up to me, says like, I enjoy your content, like thank you for putting out so much of that, and I'm like very happy. That makes my day, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have positive vibes. It's nice that people come up to you and
Yeah.
are supportive. Can you tell us a bit about like your YouTube and what you're doing or your content?
Okay, so I started off YouTube with a channel called DKDK TV. It was basically a K-pop reaction channel, and then we tried to delve into deeper stuff about like Korean culture, K-pop. I did that for like approximately 6 years. I also made a Korean dating show as well, a reality show. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Ramen
It
and
was
show.
really interesting.
Yeah, it was a kind of a big hit in my standards. So yeah, successfully done. That was like one phase of my YouTube career, and then I had a partner called Danny. But we after 7 years, there's a thing called the 7-year curse, even in K-pop. So like coworkers, we go our own ways. We're in our 30s, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just came out and made my own podcast recently called the Korean Pizza Club. And while DKDK was a little bit more K-pop centric, I shifted the focus a little bit just into Korean culture in general, because I found like a shift in the interest from the masses as well. Like, people start off in K-pop, but now as the Korean wave has started to mature a little bit, people are trying to get into deeper stuff. They're like, oh, I don't want to scratch the surface anymore. I just actually want to integrate into the Korean culture. So I kind of sense that, and also I feel there was this moment, funny thing, I really like New Jeans, who doesn't?
Yeah.
But then there was this moment I said on screen like, oh, Minji is so pretty, and then some sort of weird comment started, like, oh, aren't you like 30, bro? Like, that's kind of weird to say like a 19, 20-year-old is pretty. And then that was the moment I felt like, okay, I should kind of retire or distance myself with K-pop, because I can't compliment or comment anything about like visuals anymore. And visuals are like half of K-pop, right? So I was like, okay, maybe my time it was a good ride.
Yeah.
Time to move on. Yeah.
Because they're getting really younger.
Yeah.
Actors.
Yeah.
Do you like New Jeans?
I do.
Who doesn't? For
Yeah.
real.
For me, New Jeans is amazing because in the 90s, I was at drum and bass and jungle raves.
Oh, really?
Like, I spent my university days and things, like, just messed up at raves listening to drum and bass. And I'll still listen to it these days in the living room. And my niece will walk in and go, super shy. And she thinks I'm listening to New Jeans, but I'm not. And
What?
And she hears that drum and bass, that thing. And I'm like, wow. So for me, it's about listening to it. I really like it. Tell me about Ramen and Chill. Tell me about
Ramen
that.
and Chill.
Yeah.
So,
This is the dating show.
yes. So I found out that dating shows in a global scale were getting very popular. Singles Inferno. In Korea, there was like 나는 Solo or like Heart Signal. All that kind of stuff was blowing off. In the UK, US, there was like
Love Island. was
Love
one.
Island, Too Hot to Handle, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, oh, this is the next big trend. They're not using celebrities, like normal people coming on dating shows, drama, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, Korea has its own dating shows, but my channel has a global audience that's very interested in Korea. So it just made sense. Like, if the next trend is dating shows, let's apply that to my audience. And then it was like, okay, a lot of people like Korean men. A lot of people want to expand their horizons in the dating scene in Korea to like foreigners as well. So international marriage has become really popular in Korea right now. So I was like, okay, let's just start that on my channel. And then that's where I got the idea. And as you can see in the title, 라면 먹고 갈래? Ramen and chill, and Netflix and chill. I kind of like intertwined that. And that's how it begun.
How spicy did it get?
It actually did get very spicy in Korean standards.
Okay.
Yeah. I did all the editing.
Yeah.
I saw what I had to saw, but I did a little bit of control, for the audience. But it did get really spicy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Give us an example of the spiciness levels, because I just read that in Denmark, Korean noodles have been banned for being too spicy. Do you see that?
I saw that too. Yeah, the
so
fire
tell us
nuclear.
how spicy you got.
Well, okay, so 2 people got in bed.
Okay.
And
spicy.
started making out, and they turned off the camera.
Wow.
Yeah, I gave them permission. Like, I allowed them to turn off the camera if they thought something was about to happen. And they did. Yeah, so.
Did you watch any of this? Did you see any of this?
Not yet. I just saw the thumbnail.
Yeah, amazing. Now you're doing Korean Pizza Club.
Yes.
Where's that name from? Why is it the Korean Pizza Club?
Okay, a lot of people ask me about this. I'm actually trying to like abbreviate it and make it a shorter name, like KPC. But
sounds like a ministry or something. A government.
That's
it
true.
does, doesn't it?
Sounds really important.
Yeah. That's actually good.
I'm from the KPC.
But Korean Pizza Club, where I got that from, is like pizza. I think is like the most international food ever. Like you can get it everywhere. Yeah, and it's customized to each country. America has its own pizza. Italy would be very hard. Angry about American pizzas. I feel like Italians would be very angry if they saw corn pizza, garlic pizza, whatever.
Corn and sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes, bulgogi,
like pineapple,
shrimp, pineapple, all that kind of stuff. And Korea has the like epitome of all those weird mixes. I felt like Korea customized its own pizza. Pizza game is big here, and it's a very international food. So like having all those toppings, it feels very like variable and like colorful. So I felt like that represents my podcast very well. Like,
yeah, and it's going really well, man. Like the things you're doing on it, the long conversations. Tell us about some of the conversations you're having on the Korean Pizza Club at the moment, because you generally have like a panel of 4 people and you're hitting these issues.
Yes. So just to give you a little background, in my DKDK days, I saw it in the questions like afterwards, but like I seldom got canceled. Like not because of my own comments, but like my partner had a little bit of like a controversial take. So here and there we got canceled. And then we started doing like DK News, which is like K-pop based news, like controversies, daily stuff like that. And then honestly the mental, what do you call it, the emotional struggle was real, because like the comments were always divided. They were always fighting, and they were saying like, he doesn't know that, he doesn't know this. And I just wanted to get out of that toxic environment. Like it was very mentally draining. So I thought like I need to be on the sideline now. I need to be an MC. And I need other people to do the hard lifting for me. So let me get opinionated people. Sit them next to me and let me just be the moderator and have entertaining content. So that's how it started. But in content wise, in general, we just talk about Korean culture, but some debatable topics like low birth rate, why don't people marry each other, recently I saw like they're banning old people from certain cafes, or they're banning children from cafes.
Ajumas from gyms. Did you see that one?
Yes, exactly. Stuff like that. So there are a lot of debatable, questionable topics in Korea, and I felt like, just tapping into those would be entertaining content. And also, in the meantime, I could provide like a more deeper Korean perspective, explaining the context and all that.
What's it like being an MC? So that was a conscious decision. That's really interesting to me.
Yes.
And so that was because of being an online creator and like the negative, everything that comes with that.
Yeah. True. So it gets really hard when every single time you put out a video, someone is just spreading negativity towards you. Like they're always tackling your opinions, and it's like, he's a hater of this group, he's a hater of that group, and sometimes it even spirals into like false accusations and rumors as well. So that was just too stressful for me.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle it. Yeah.
And so now you've got some people to pick up the bat for you and hit it. You just tee them up with the questions.
Exactly. I do put my opinions on the podcast as well, for sure. But I try to be more like the Yoo Jae-suk figure, you know.
That's why.
Yeah.
He doesn't age.
He doesn't age.
He's just still there. He's been on television for so long.
I know.
He's just always there. Like what I noticed when I was looking through your stuff, especially the Korean Pizza Club, is that you're really positive. We were talking about this before we started recording, but you seem to share the love. You seem to not want to get into battles with other people, and if other people are creating content and things like that, you're very open and you're like, let's go. Can you just tell us about the positivity?
Yeah, that is my basic mindset. I want to spread positivity with my content. I'm done with like stirring up the pot and like chasing stimulation and controversial stuff. I don't think anything productive comes out of that. So I just wanted to like shift the mentality into like educating people or like giving information, value in my content. So that was the basic mindset. And in terms of like being a creator, I always believe there's a lot of jealousy in this creator space, honestly, to be honest. If you go to networking spaces, they're like, you know, competing with each other, side-eyeing, and like, oh, that person copied my content. You know, that person is saturating the whole, you know, industry here, all that kind of stuff. But I just don't understand that because, like, as I said, like, if you bring more audience to the Korean-related content scene, then that audience is basically just going to ping pong back and forth through other content creators, content and all that. And in general, that person will spread more good things about Korea and Korean content in their countries as well. So the pie is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And people just don't understand that effect. Like, if we grow bigger as a market, everyone has a bigger piece of the pie. But people are just thinking it's a zero-sum game. So I just don't understand that mentality. And I always just try to, you know, preach this to my fellow creators. Like, don't be jealous of other people. If they're successful, try to collab with them. Like, try to do more interactions with them and stuff like that. Yeah.
No fear, no anger, no envy. That's my motto. And envy's a hard one, I find.
Yes.
Sometimes, especially for young people, fear is another one. But, you know, it's nice to see somebody succeed and then feel joy. But, like, when you see your friend succeed, and if you feel joy, that's a real friend. Like, well done, I'm very proud of you. Talking about this pie getting bigger, Soyun, you said that when you're in the States, like it was popular to be Korean.
Oh.
It was.
Oh.
Especially in Georgia. It's a really like southern like country.
Right.
So there was like no Korean, like really few Asians. So yeah, they were really interested in Korean culture. They would come up to me and say like, oh, I really like K-pop or like K-dramas. Do you have any recommendations? Like,
Are you sure that's not flirting? They don't have any personal interests?
Maybe some. But yeah, I was really surprised that they're really interested in my culture, and I was really happy to tell them about it.
Yeah.
What kind of things did you tell them? What music, dramas? How did you explain Korea to them?
Actually, like my friends who came up to me, they were like, they already knew a lot about it. Like,
Did they know
like
more
the
than you
K-pop.
sometimes?
Yes, sometimes they would like follow all the like K-pop stars and press likes, and they would come up to me and say like, "Did you see that news yesterday?" I was like, that was really surprising.
Whoa.
And
It must be nice though, mustn't
yeah,
it?
it was really nice. And they were like watching K-dramas, and we were sharing like dramas, which one's good, like.
No offense, but in Georgia. That's
In
wild.
yes,
It's not even
yes.
Cali or LA we're talking about.
Shout out to my old bandmate Chad Fazenbaker, who wrote this line in one of our songs. We're getting high like a Georgia pine. that's what I think.
High like a Georgia.
Yeah, it's a good line. You mentioned the masses earlier and people interested in your content and things like this. I was speaking to the studio owner. When I look at K-pop data, a lot of views on K-pop videos and dramas, they come from Southeast Asia, they come from Philippines and Indonesia, from Mexico, Brazil. What have you noticed about your audience, people into this content?
So my audience is very divided, but obviously it's English-speaking countries. So America is first, like the U.S. would be like 40%, and then we got India, of course, population-wise.
Yeah.
So India would be like 20%, and then we got the UK, Australia, Europe, and Mexico, all that. So it's very diverse, and I really enjoy that diversity because. Even as a content creator, I am spreading my own culture, but whenever I, do stuff like cultural differences, I always see in the comment section like, oh, in my country it's like this, like, oh, it's so weird that Korea is like that because in my country it's like that. So it's a learning process for me as well. Like I get to see, I have a lens towards the world in my comment section, and that's just. Like it just broadens my horizon so much. Like I would say 10 years ago, as a Korean person, I was just very close-minded. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but it's just being in the Korean culture. But like now I have like totally different perspectives on things. Cool. I see things in different angles. I try to understand different cultures as well. So yeah, I think those are definitely the perks of having like a multicultural audience. And yeah.
That's really cool.
That's a beautiful thing. We're all prisoners of culture in some ways. I try to get across to my students that if I was born in and grew up in 1970s, 80s Korea, my views on LGBT and feminism and things like may be very different. Exactly. It's how we grow up and where we grow up. Well, tell us something about Korean culture. Like you're talking about these differences and things like this. So is there anything that you've discovered that is unique or fun or interesting about Korean culture?
There's a lot.
I know.
I don't know what to say, but okay, let's get a little academic. It might be a little boring, sorry, but
you're speaking to a guy in a tie.
I wouldn't normally bring this kind of stuff up in my podcast, but here we are with a professor. So one thing I noticed is like I wrote this in my master's thesis, but Korean people have it's a thing called hyper-moralism. So they have moralistic superiority. I think that's how you translate it. But it basically means they're on a higher horse. They're like on a moral high horse when they judge other people, especially celebrities, public figures, or people that aren't just themselves. So whenever a little scandal just happens, like controversy happens, even if it's nothing severe, like I'm not talking about DUIs or drugs or anything like that, like just a mild little thing.
Karina having a boyfriend.
I'm mad. I'm suddenly angry. It's the Korean showing in me. But it's like I can't think of an example right now, but like something happens, little thing, they immediately jump on them and think, oh, that's not good. That's ill-mannered, all that kind of stuff. And that applies a lot into like K-pop fandoms as well and K-pop dynamics. So that's what I wrote my thesis about. And I felt like that was a very unique Korean culture. Like I think it's mostly because of the effects of Confucianism. But I noticed that the Western audience is way more understanding and way more, treat people as human beings. Like even if they're celebrities, they have their own space. They have their own like human flaws. They can sexual stuff or whatever, like if we're talking about that. But in Korea, like if a public figure talks about something sexual or like takes a cigarette in front of the screen, stuff like that, there's suddenly like, oh, that person's a bad influence, like you shouldn't do that in public, stuff like that. So that's one of the big differences I noticed.
Hyper-moralistic.
Yes.
It's interesting that as Korean celebrities get bigger, they seem to have less freedom.
Yes.
Less opportunity. Whereas if you're a Western celebrity, you get freedom to sort of break the law and social codes and morals, and you can be Bieber or Post Malone and do mushrooms on a podcast.
Exactly.
And do what you want. But if you're a Korean one, no boyfriends, no girlfriends, no smoking, no drinking. And these kind of things.
I mean, one example pops up right now.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, do you know the 회장, the chairman of SK, Choi Tae-won? So recently, he had
not personally.
He had the biggest divorce trial, and then he split like 1.4조. I don't even know how to translate that into dollars, but it was the divorce of the century in Korea, and I'm not trying to devalue that or brush that away. Of course, adultery and cheating is a bad thing, of course. But that happened. Whereas I was in the subway today. I was watching a post, and it was about Elon Musk, and then he got accused allegedly about like, sexually harassing or assaulting like one of his board members in SpaceX. And then I read the whole thing, and then apparently he has 10 kids with 2 wives and like a whole past. He even donated his like sperm to somebody, and he has like other 2 kids. So I was like, this is all happening to like the biggest CEO or biggest like richest person in the world, and he still lives his life. He has freedom of speech. He does whatever he wants without any moral judgment. Of course there is backlash, but like relatively, he's very free to do what he wants.
He has fuck you money.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in the case of Choi Tae-won, now he's like a whole, he's a sinner. He's like, he just can't like raise his face in front of the public. Exactly, shame. So I think the standards are way, way higher in Korea. Yeah, in those kind of sense.
Yeah, and then it goes into the dark. I mean, I don't know really whether this is appropriate to bring up, but like Lee Sung-yoon, I had to go on like Channel 4 News and all of these things to talk about it. And this was a guy that had maybe smoked some marijuana and gone to some business clubs, some brothels or something and that was enough to drive him because of this feeling of shame of having done something wrong in public.
Yeah, prime example for sure.
Do you feel anything about hyper moralistic Koreans? The Koreans like easily talk smack online?
Like Korean celebrities, it's like definitely more harsh. Like it's really hard to survive. There are like always people watching, and like for example, do you know the K-drama The Lovely Runner? Lovely Runner. It was a really big hit. Like it was real. A lot of people loved it, and one of the actor called Byun Woo-seok, he's really like handsome and people loved him, and now he became a superstar, and he can't really like walk in the streets. In front of his house, there's like all the people waiting for him, and I heard that it's getting really tough. Yeah. So it's definitely hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sad that it becomes like that. That you know, that's. I thought the idea of daepyo was quite interesting. That sometimes these Korean people become representatives of a nation, and like you're meant to live these perfect lives.
Yeah.
Cultural differences. So there's that hyper moralistic. Koreans change their clothes when they come home. I got this one that
Wait,
your eyes.
I'm shook. Like, do other people don't?
Yeah, I was also shocked when I heard this.
You don't change your clothes
when
you...
I would come home, I wouldn't necessarily... I might take off my jacket and my shoes, but that's it. I'm sitting around in my, like...
No way.
Yes way.
No way.
Wait, and I tell you why, because people might come around for a coffee or something.
Okay.
Koreans get changed into pajamas.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Yeah,
I go straight into the bathtub.
Yeah.
The shower.
Yeah. And this was huge to me. And when my family and relatives come over, I'm like, please bring like T-shirts and shorts, because even though there's a sofa, you're going to sit on the floor with your back against it. But Koreans change as soon as they get home.
Yeah.
This is totally new to me. Like, it's a culture shock for sure.
Yeah. Because it's always the shoes people talk about it. But I've noticed that, Yeah. Do you notice any big culture shocks? Any big cultural difference? What's Korean culture, Soyun?
Definitely, like when I was in America, my friends were shocked about like the hygiene, and all the like, for example, like changing clothes, or like I have to take a shower before going into my bed, and like all the like shoes or like.
Wait, don't people all take showers?
They don't, I think.
No way. You're kidding me. We're living in a different reality here.
Yeah.
I'm a morning shower guy. Morning. Cold morning shower.
Whoa, that's wild. That's wild.
Yeah, that's wild. So that was a big culture shock. Yeah.
Just simple things about when...
really simple.
My niece does that. She, at like 1 a.m., she has an hour shower before going to bed, and that sets her up and things like that. Yeah, it's really big.
Sorry to cut you off. I just found a really good example of a cultural difference. Yeah. So what I noticed is like it's a little bit of an extension to the Korean hypermoralism thing about internet culture, or like just Korean culture in general. Korean people, you might have noticed, is they're super patriotic. They only want to talk good stuff about the country. Whereas in America, I've seen a lot of people being critical about their own country. They're like, America is doomed. We have this wrong. It's falling apart. Whereas when I talk the slightest bad thing about Korea, like Korea needs to fix this up, some Korean comments come and say like, why are you spreading bad stuff about Korea? Like, you're probably like a Yankee or a Kyopo that doesn't know anything about Korean, all that kind of stuff. So that was a very big culture shock for me, because like, I don't know why people aren't allowed to confront or criticize their own society in this things that are necessary too. So yeah, big thing.
Yeah,
Just wanted to mention.
I agree with that, because when I was in US, my friends like, of course it's kind of joke, but they will say like something about America that they need to fix, or they ask me really a lot that like, do people really hate Americans like all over the world? And I was like, why would you ask that? And they will really be like criticizing the social society, which they really need to change. So I think that's not a really bad thing.
Right. It's honestly very toxic and suffocating, because personally, in a personal level, whenever I see the news and something bad about Korea is coming out, and I talk with my mom, she's very patriotic too. She's in that generation. She's like, okay, then go live in America. Go live somewhere else. And then she's trying to prove a point there. You know, there's nowhere else convenient and safe and like developed like this in, like Korea. Like Korea is like a very, you know, nice society. There are more pros than the cons. Like try living out in like, you know, another continent. Let's see how far you go there.
Wow.
And then I'm like, okay, I see your point, but still, like, in order to better our society, we need these kind of talks and debates for sure. And she's like, yeah, but at the end, like, would you have like succeeded in your life, or like would you have a better life in another country or stuff like that? So it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, but I think also interesting thing is online people try to like defend the bad things about like the Korea, our country, but if you talk with your friends or like people like in person, they would say something.
Yes.
A
Yeah,
lot.
they'll talk
like,
smack about it in person.
Yeah,
Online,
in person
online,
they will
that's
say a
true.
lot.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the words is kukbong, like
Yeah.
national myth. And I told the 사장님 before, the owner of this podcast, before we started, that 사실 나는 애국심이 많습니다. Like I have lots of, and when I said I have lots of patriotism, he kind of looked at me and gave me this kind of like, how could a foreigner have 애국심 for Korea? But it's definitely something that Korean people are not only proud. Like if I ask my sister-in-law, like, do you like BTS? She'd be like, yeah, I love them. She couldn't name a BTS song, bless her. But she loves them for the reputation and pride that they give to Korea. And you remember that like Scout Jamboree thing that went horrible? There was an event in South Korea, and like scouts were coming from all over the world, and it was a bit of a mess. It all kind of went tits up. And my family, they were watching this on the television. They're like, oh, 너무 부끄러워, 창피해. And they were shamed. They were ashamed about something. And so the image and reputation of Korea is very important to Korean people. If Ed Sheeran or Adele gets #1, I don't feel a sense of like togetherness. I'm like, yay, England. I don't get that. But Korean people, I'm generalizing 51 million people here and the diaspora, but they seem to, in general, some people live their heart on their sleeves. And when Korea succeeds, they all succeed. And when Korea does something bad, then it's kind of like that, isn't it?
It's hard to deny that. I'm like that myself too. Yeah. Definitely.
I wondered whether what's your take on this, because you're really big, whether Hallyu is slowly dying. So I'm not sure about this idea, but I teach many classes, and so I notice various trends. But I wonder if the high point of Hallyu's success, it's still popular, was like Parasite and Dynamite and Butter, and like once it's on mainstream American television and on talk shows and Good Morning, once it's in the mainstream, it's not cool anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's like once your parents know about something, once your professor says Lucky Bicky or something like that, and they know the memes, then it's dead. You need a new one.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on this Hallyu trend?
I would use the term maturing. So it's fermenting. So that's a way to put it, in the kimchi way. But yeah, we definitely, you know, kind of penetrated. Like we put a hole in the wall, like a hole in the paper. We made it through the mainstream media. People got exposed to it. Some people chose to follow it. Some people thought still it was uncool, whatever. But I am definitely noticing, other than K-pop, like the K-pop is basically the gateway. And they fall into the rabbit hole of Korean culture. They try out K-BBQ, like bibimbap, all that stuff, K-cosmetics, dramas. So it's everywhere nowadays, and I feel like I might get canceled for this again by Korean people, but I think a good a comparison is Japanese culture in general. We always say that Japanese culture or Japan in general just is is faster than us, ahead of us in 10 years. Like whatever happens to Japan socially happens to Korea after 10 years. I feel like that's happening to Korean culture as well. Japanese culture has been around for a while, and anime like Dragon Ball, everyone knows that, right? Naruto, it's always like Pokemon, it's infiltrated the whole world. And now, although we don't have like super big anime like that, like Pokemon or Dragon Ball or anything, it's there as a niche, but the pie is huge. So I think that's happening to K-pop as well. Like BTS just opened all the gateways. Like Psy opened all the gateways. Now there are boy groups that are selling stadium tours and world tours and million sellers and all that. Nobody knows about them, but it's still quantity-wise huge. So statistically, it's still growing, and some people even say that it's only the start. Now, statistically, but we just don't feel it because it's getting more niched, and like the core fandoms are just growing. So I don't know whether it's going to actually be mainstream in the future, but definitely the pie and the quantity wise, I think it's starting to grow. That's why I made my career shift into the Korean Pizza Club as well. I saw like a little vision that Korean culture, the death of it will be important. So yeah.
Yesterday's army are today's aunties. People, that was one of my lines, but it's true. And people, tell us about how you've seen K-pop change, because I mean, I think you've been quite public and open about how K-pop has been very good for you and it's helped you, and that's cool, man. How has K-pop changed?
We started off with only a handful of groups in the past. Like everybody knew all the groups out there, even until like the second generation. Like there's Big Bang, 21, Girls' Generation, Wonder Girls, Super Junior. Every single person in the country knew about these groups, where even if they didn't know like their music, but because they saw success in the global market and the market started to grow, like a lot of companies saw opportunities in them and started, pumping out more and more groups. So it became like a huge flow in like the third generation. So from that point on, I don't even know all the groups there. I can't memorize all the members. From the fourth gen, it's like out of control. Like there's so many groups, million sellers, but I don't know any of the members, any of the songs. It's not because I'm old, because I was in the K-pop field, but I feel like that's what's happening. It's like you have a whole buffet, but like people, like the owner is like, you can get whatever you want. Like we have everything for you, but you get so full that you don't try out like the other corners and stuff like that. So I feel like that's happening. Music-wise, it's getting very pop-ish, poppy, I guess. In the old days, it still was very referenced with Western music and a mix of different cultures. But nowadays, I feel like because America is the biggest market, a lot of groups want to benchmark BTS and their success. So they want to get big in the American market. Thus, they're targeting more towards like the Gen Z or the American mainstream audience with like all these hip lyrics that sometimes don't make sense, or like the trendy sounds on TikTok, that kind of stuff. So even BTS themselves have put out concerns about their music becoming very westernized and pop-ish, but I think that's an ongoing trend. At the same time, there's like an anti-movement becoming like super more niched. Like we can't stand a chance against those big capital countries, companies. So let's just niche down and make our own music. And I feel like a big success of that nowadays is Day6. The rock band. They were consistent with their music, and they're like upstreaming the charts. Like the whole public now likes them, and they're becoming very big in the global society as well. So
I love their music.
I love that too.
Nice. Silica Gel is the one I'm hearing about. They seem to be popular. Have you noticed that the West has stopped doing boy bands and girl bands? Can you imagine like a group of 8 27-year-old Western people going, "I love you"? It just ick. Like it doesn't make sense anymore. anymore. That the
Yeah.
West has kind of stopped doing that. I mean,
Right.
I grew up with Take That and Westlife and Spice Girls Go Jerry, but like NSYNC, Backstreet
Backstreet
Boys, you know, Eternal, all of Destiny's Child
Yeah.
stopped.
One Direction
One
was,
Direction
I
was
think,
like
the last
the
one.
last. Yeah.
That's kind of weird, isn't it? It's just like, we'll let Korea, you do it so well. You do this so well. We can't compete with you. This is like a division of labor.
Yeah, it's just become a trademark of K-pop, I guess. A lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
people, yeah.
How can you compete? Like the choreography, the beauty standards going up, the ages going down, you said earlier. I remember like the second generation, you say, like when I was here, Big Bang, it felt like all the boys wanted to be them and all the girls wanted to date them.
That
it was
was
like
me.
this b-boy era,
Yeah.
and they were like really cool domestically. It felt so big here. Yeah. Any K-pop? So do you have K-pop on your Spotify?
Yeah, like you said, I really like Day6. I'm going to their concert
Okay,
this
okay.
month. Yeah.
Give us some Day6 love for a little bit. Let's hear more about them.
The thing that I really like about them is, like you said, they have their own like music taste. They make their own music. They write their lyrics.
Right.
It's really cool, and I love like the live music, the band music. So, I think that's why people like start to recognize them. Yeah. So it's really interesting that they're becoming more popular after the military service.
Yeah.
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 Oh, they've all done the military
They've
service.
all done the military
Yeah.
service, and they're like
Full
going
respect to
really
them.
popular.
That's really nice. Yeah, great. I need to check out more Day6. I'm behind. Day6 is still cool in this sense then.
Wait, so Soyun, you said I don't want to reveal your age, but you're in the Gen Z bracket,
Yeah.
right? So do you know Big Bang?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they're like really a legend in like a K-pop scene
Yeah.
because they were really popular when I was in like elementary school. So my
Elementary
brother,
school,
my older
okay.
brother, he was listening to their album, the whole album. So that's why I know them.
Okay.
And actually, their music is really cool. If you just listen to now, it's still cool. So
Yeah.
I think that's why people really like them.
And it's interesting that your brother was also listening to him. That's what I
Yes.
think was the thing about Big Bang.
Yeah.
They went
He was
across
obsessed
gender,
with-
and it was like G-Dragon was the OG gender bender. He was doing all this weird stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. It's just wild nowadays seeing comments from very young kids. They don't know who GD is.
Did you see the photo of him as a professor? He's going to teach at KAIST,
Yes.
isn't he?
Yes.
It's, yeah.
They're like, who's GD? Who's this
Yeah.
guy?
Yeah, well done on him. How does because you're in the content creation thing, we've been talking about K-pop and new groups, and you can see Baby Monster, for example, they get like 250 million views on their videos and things like this. And when I was comparing that to the views for, say, Drake and Kendrick and their diss battles, which was a real cultural moment,
Yeah.
they're getting 25 million views, right? And you compare that with Baby Monster in the last 6 months, 250 million, 250 million. I guess the question is, sajegi and streaming, and I know it's a sensitive thing, but how much do you think how does manipulation work in the online era?
I think it's 50-50. I think there is a true fan base that is that big.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a streaming culture as well. So a lot of people are just abusing or multi-streaming like it over and over again, the music videos. And there's like a lot of people in Southeast Asia, in India, like South America, the US, like the global audience is all tuned in. Like honestly, Drake and Kendrick was a cultural moment, but mostly for the US.
Okay,
Mostly
yeah.
for the US. But like I would say like if you grab any Korean out there, like maybe 10 people, I think like 9 out of 10 wouldn't know about the Kendrick Drake thing, but they would know about maybe Baby Monster or like bigger K-pop groups like BTS. So I think there is some truth behind the views.
Yeah.
But definitely there is a systematic, you know, abusing or sajegi or multi-streaming, all that kind of stuff. They use like multiple devices, like 5 devices to like turn on a music video. And there's also insider info, but it's a known fact that the K-pop companies buy a lot of views. Like they just burn money on like the views because they become indicators of how successful the group is, and they put out like them as trophies, like, oh, this music video got 1 billion views
Yeah.
in like such a short time. So yeah, I think it's a mix of all of that. Yeah, so yeah.
And it affects Billboard and everything like that
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
where it didn't when Psy was. I love the story of Psy, that like you have JYP and everyone trying to break K-pop into the West for so long, and then some fat weird Ajoshi does it. No, I have full respect to Psy. I love him. I think he's amazing.
Yeah.
But that was the one that broke it.
Right, right.
Here's a weird question for you, because we discuss this in my Hallyu class sometimes. Is Psy K-pop?
That's a hard one. But
Yeah, because some people say yes, some people say no, and it's like I just wanted to get a.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
he is K-pop. Because like it always goes down to the question, what is K-pop? The definition of K-pop. That's the basis. So if you have the wide point of view about K-pop, then he is in that. But if you have like the narrow point of view, I don't think he falls into that. So if you're thinking about the wide perspective, it's just. Like, if you have Korean lyrics, if you're ethnically Korean, if you do Korean broadcastings and, if you have choreographies and stuff, then it could already be K-pop. But there are other aspects, like he's not a group, he's not a boy band, he's not conventionally attractive, his moves are not, like, super synchronized or anything, he wasn't, like, systematically trained. His fandoms aren't going like oppa oppa and like buying all albums and fan meets for him. So if you rule out, like, there are 5 points that he's not K-pop, but there are 5 points that he are K-pop. So like he's in the middle, and I think Koreans would just be proud to claim he's K-pop just for the sake of like hyping up the country and all that. Yeah.
Hell of a live show and everything from him, though. It's just incredible. I really like some of the things that he does with that. In terms of, I don't know, like online content, is there? I once heard this, that the reason people focus so much on K-pop and Hallyu is because if you did real politics and history, you'd just be cancelled in a minute in Korea. Like, because we spend a lot of time arguing about celebrities and these light things, but if you actually, like, in an academic way, you've done a master's and things like that, but if you actually did real Korean stuff, wow, you get in trouble.
Yeah.
Can we say something a bit about like ethnicity? You said like a Psy. When we were preparing for this show, because this is the first time I've met you, like we were asking in the chat, like, is he Korean? Yeah, I think he's Korean. Like,
I think he's my name is Kim.
But there's a weird thing that goes on, isn't there? Are you Korean or
Korean American.
Korean American?
So are you Korean?
I am Korean.
What is Korean? Shooting back the question.
This is the MC coming out.
There is the technical definition of whether you're a Kyopo or like a Korean American, Korean. So if you have a different citizenship, I guess like you could rule out that as like not Korean, definitely. But I think it more sides to the mentality or the values a person has. So like there's a very big divide in like dating culture, for example. If you're Korean, they would. They would have very different perspectives of a Korean American in terms of dating. I can't think of good examples right now, but in terms of like sexual intimacy, like a lot of Koreans still think we're becoming very open, but before we get into like boyfriend and girlfriend, like the labeling, it's a little bit shamed upon or taboo to have like sexual relationships between 2 people. But in the West, that's very normalized. Like you just have casual sexual stuff, and then becomes like the relationship afterwards. Like like if we're serious, we're boyfriend and girlfriend. But it's like totally reversed there. So if you were to have a Korean American and Korean and have a debate about that, they would be totally like different in those kind of point of views. So I think they're like very standard or stereotypical, or maybe just what do you call it? Just staple examples of like differences in perspectives or cultural viewpoints that just makes a stark contrast between the two. And I think it's like the culture, the mentality, and also the technicals too as well. Yeah.
And perhaps the media they grow up with and the dramas and the things on television. I mean, in Korea in 2002, it would have been Winter Sonata, and at the same time in the States, you got Sopranos and The Wire and all of that going on. Incredible. Game of Thrones and boobs and things like that.
and also style as well. Style.
What about style?
You can differentiate a Korean and a Korean American just by style. She's just like giving a hard nod.
I think I can do that. Yeah.
Tell me.
What would you think as Korean American is?
I think like Korean, they really like care about a lot of like fashion.
Yeah.
So they're really like trying to catch up the trend.
Wearing lots of white and black.
they're just like the vibe that like Korean Americans give, maybe. like the makeup style
Yeah.
or the fashion style.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard to tell, but like you can just tell.
Yeah, women have different styles of makeup, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
For dudes, I feel like, no hate, but Korean American people just don't care that much in their appearance or their fashion style. It's like, sometimes just H&M, Zara stuff, and
Yeah.
that'll be it. Whereas Korea, it's like very mushinsa and very like up to the trend.
Yeah.
Sometimes even idol fashion, street fashion, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, they just take more care of themselves in terms of like fashion, skincare, hair, perms, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas, Korean Americans like just shortcuts,
Yeah.
just masculine look, Uniqlo tee on. That's it. So.
I've noticed that amongst my students at Seollyo, their Bermuda shorts are becoming big. These big baggy shorts on girls seem to
yeah.
be the trend at the moment, which is interesting. Do you feel different in Korea or in the States, for example, here? Or like, how does it affect you, if that's a weird question, and you as well, Soyun? Because in the UK, I feel thin.
Oh.
Like, I wear medium T-shirts and
Yeah.
things like that. Over here, I'm like, God damn, I'm fat, man. Like, what's going on? I feel different. I feel like the pull of the Name Shison and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we all have different body shapes, and like genetically, biologically, like we're like, different body frames and all that kind of stuff. And I feel that as I do an online store as well.
Okay.
I curate Korean products and sell them to the global audience. It's called Piroso, by the way, plugin. But there a big problem there is like my audience likes the clothes, but
Yeah.
I never have the size. It's like, why don't you have, like you said, large size, but
Yeah.
they want a refund because it just doesn't fit.
Large, yeah.
Why don't you have a 2X large or anything like that?
Yeah.
So definitely experienced all of that. But what was the basic question there? Like, what was the?
Do you feel different? Do you dress
Oh,
different?
do I-
you look different? Does it have? I've been toying with the idea of like Hangulkwa,
Yeah.
the Koreanization that happens to people.
Definitely. So whenever I go to the States or anywhere else, I meet my fans and they say like, "You look so Korean." And I'm like, "What does that mean?" And they're like, "You have a perm, long hair, you have bangs, and then your skin is glowing, and then you have wide black pants, and you're in all black like today."
Your skin is glowing, by the way. You have a morning glow.
Thank you. And you seem to yeah.
Can we say something about the dating scene? So you brought up the idea of there's a difference between Korean dating and Korean American dating. I've never spoken about dating on this podcast. What's 2024? What's the dating scene like? I'm married. Like, give me some Terry Mandok. Give me some vicarious satisfaction. Like, what's happening? Can I say one thing about this? Sorry to interrupt you, David.
No
is
problem.
that I was at the Hanyang Festival where I work, and they had a Tinder booth.
Oh, really?
I took
I
a photo
heard about
of it because
it.
I was like, wow, Tinder's not a thing in this country. It's only associated with like F-boys and this kind of thing. And I was like, wow, they have a Tinder booth at the festival.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're visiting like the campus and doing like interesting things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the younger generation is definitely opening up a little bit more. They're becoming more. Oh, I hate this term, but open-minded. They're becoming very open-minded, and I think the traditional terms or perspectives of dating are becoming a little bit more watered down in this time and era. Yeah, a lot of people use dating apps. They're more into casual dating as well. They don't see shame in that, and I'm all for that. Yeah, So I think it's changing in that way. But there's also like a push and pull between like the traditional, conventional, and like the new Western style, and I think we're in the limbo phase right now. So there's a big divide, and the older generation, or even my generation, I'm in my 30s right now, so look to the Gen Z and their dating styles, and they're like, really? Like, you think that's okay? And whereas the Gen Zs are like, why aren't you enjoying life? Life is short. Just meet as much people as you want, and have fun. So I think it's changing like that. And I don't know if it's a good direction or whatever, but at least people are doing what they want. So that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, they're choosing for love. It's not arranged marriages. There's an interesting idea that Koreans have only been sort of dating for love for decades here. It's not. It's quite a new thing. And
Right.
I think you can have this perception that all Koreans are engaged in some kind of gender war and not having children and have become celibate monks. And it's like, go out on a Friday night and a Saturday night, and you'll see it's very different. Any tea to spill about the dating scene in South Korea in 2024?
I think, like David said, it's definitely getting more casual. People are getting open-minded, but at the same time, because it's getting casual, people are trying to pursue like Chamanchu, and they're trying to like find love, which is really natural. Like
Chamanchu is like
yeah.
in-person meetings, natural meetings,
like
not
just
online.
like just in Destiny, like people are like wants to believe that it still exists.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. They're going to be approached in a cafe or in a library or something. Someone's going to come up and get their
Like
number.
K-drama.
Like a K-drama, yeah.
I'm glad that you brought up Chamanchu because that's the actual example of the shift in the dating mindset.
And it's in Manchu as well, is it? Chamanchu
Yeah.
in
Chamanchu,
Manchu.
Manchu. But I once covered this in my podcast, but Chamanchu usually means 자연스러운 만남 주고 natural. I pursue natural meeting, like in natural settings. But then the Gen Z has changed it into 자보고 만남 주고. It's like have sex first and then meet. So it's the same word.
Have sex first and then meet.
Yeah. So you check out your sexual compatibility.
Yeah.
And then you have casual, sex and whatever, and then you start dating.
And then you start dating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the word itself, the terminology has changed. The same word has changed among different generations.
Yeah, like two meanings.
Yeah, two meanings. So that's just a really, really big like example of how it's shifting right now.
Yeah. That's it, and it's good that it's shifting. And like you said, that you were hesitant to use the words open-minded or westernization. And I've also enjoyed the perspective of that it being new Koreans. That it's not always westernization, but it's Korean people, young Korean people adapting to the new society and technology. I heard about FaceTime sleeping from some of my students, where they'll do FaceTime and they'll fall asleep to each other. Like this kind of thing. I know. Like, and one girl was telling me, yeah, but I do it, but I only show him half my face. As she won't show the whole thing. I was like, wow, this is a. I remember you like Latin and Malia. Like back in the day, I used to have to phone like your girlfriend's house and speak to their dad first. They go, "Hello, Mr. Robinson, can I speak to Jennifer, please?" And it was just the worst. It was just the worst thing.
My mom told me about it.
Yeah.
How they call to their house and like.
I mean, the FaceTime sleeping thing is a new thing, but it's kind of cute if you think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, they will like talk all night and just like fall asleep. And they will like woke up in the morning and find out that I just fall asleep like.
And the phone still got the
Yeah.
snoring coming from the thing. Yeah.
Personally, I would never do that.
No, it's just
No, I would never.
different generation. We used to have like one letter from them that you would have to keep and read over and over again, or your mobile phone could only hold 10 messages in the thing. So you would just keep one space and keep the ones from your lovers.
Right.
Can we talk about your cancelling?
Yeah, sure.
Tell us about it. Because I'm just curious. Like, I know nothing about it, but I was reading it. I was going, "Wow, this looks so serious." And I don't want to put any words into your mouth, but like, you're such a positive, nice-going guy, and it feels like there's this online thing that happens. What's that, David?
So, as I said, I worked with my partner Danny for 7 years on DKDK TV, and just to make an analogy, I was like the Yoo Jae-suk figure. He was the Bang Myung-soo figure. You get it, right? You get what I'm saying, right? So he says what's on his mind.
Yeah.
It's entertaining in its own way. Very hard takes, like it's very edgy. There's an audience for that.
Yeah.
I'm like trying to be very diplomatic, neutral, and positive. So there's like yin and yang between us, and people like that dynamic for sure. So that became our trademark, I guess. That's why people loved our videos. And while I do appreciate that, sometimes the comments get blown out of proportion or misunderstood. Yeah, so there were a lot of cases like that, mostly from my partner's remarks on comments, and especially in terms of the biggest fandom out there, ARMY from BTS. There was one comment that triggered them a lot. and then it caused a whole feud. We got canceled immediately. We lost like 40 to 50,000 subscribers in a day, and Army just trended Cypher. Like it was like a diss track against haters among like the BTS discography, and they trended that on iTunes solely because of this comment on our channel. And I think it was a mix of a big like coincidental things, because he went on a podcast without me, and the journalist who was interviewing him, like nothing against her, but apparently her reputation wasn't that positive from Army in the first place. Yeah, that dynamic, and also his comments that kind of got misunderstood spiraled out, and then it made it big on Twitter, and then we got canceled. He got so much mental damage that he had to take like a retreat to like a different country for a while. And then I was there trying to save my channel, trying to do damage control, but then nothing works in those kind of times. So they're like, you're associated with him. If he speaks like that on camera, like imagine what they speak behind camera and stuff like that. They're just using them for clout, BTS for clout and K-pop for clout, all that kind of stuff. And then like these weird false rumors also started to spread. They got paid by YG or something like that.
You wish.
I always say, please pay me, YG. That kind of stuff. So yeah, it was very tough. That was the biggest event. There was another event. Maybe I'm bearing my own grave again, but there was another event when we were talking about a certain group's disbandment. It was a big group, and the end of their contract was near. So we were like, yeah, they're going to disband. It's been a good time. Like, what do you think? What are your projections about their future? And I was like, will they do solo work or whatever? And among those talks, like he said, I bet my balls that they would never regroup again as a complete group and do activities. That's it. Like they're just gonna do solo activities and that's it. So it was a little bit aggressive language there, right? Just for the sake of entertainment. But of course, K-pop fans, like it was a very sentimental moment, emotional moment. I totally get it. Like they got super offended. And of course that went viral. It went viral to the level that the actual artist himself noticed it.
Oh wow.
And he retweeted it. Like there was a clip of my partner saying, I will cut off my balls if they group together and do activities again. And then the group actually regrouped and did activities, and then the artist clipped our thing and put it on Twitter, and with 2 emojis, scissors, chop chop.
Oh my word!
Scissors and an eggplant.
Yeah.
And then that just went big, and I think we lost like a couple of thousand, tens and thousands of subscribers then too. So I got into a massive quarrel with him, and he was trying to repost that on his Instagram. Like, oh, it's such an honor. I got noticed. And I was like, no, dude, like that's not how you do it. So those kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't think I got canceled personally because of my comments. I was always on the side, and I was getting grouped up as a group. I feel very close to, okay, this is a bad analogy, to my partner. I respect his, style and whatever, but a lot of my friends compare me to Big Bang because some of the members were problematic. One of them were very problematic, and so but many of them, like Taeyang, for example, he didn't do anything wrong, right? But his activities were restricted, and he got a hit on his reputation just because they were in the same group. Yeah. So I think there was a similar.
You calling yourself Taeyang?
No, I'm not. A lot of people just told me that. Yeah. But I don't think it's to that magnitude or anything. My partner did what he did. He had total freedom of what he had to say, and I respect that. So yeah, that's just a way to put it, just to get the feeling, and at first the cancellation was very it took a big toll in my mental health for sure, But at the end, I felt like, everybody's forgotten about it now. Maybe this might spike it up again, but I'm living my life. And yeah, it's just, water under the bridge. Like that's it. Yeah.
I think it's so brave of you to talk about it, but it's interesting to me because some people will say cancel culture is not real and these things happen. So for somebody that's gone through it or been associated with it, I think it's really important to hear about how it feels to be on the receiving end of it. And also how you've come through it and still with the positivity. It hasn't darkened your soul in any way or something like that, which is a beautiful thing. Is there a sense that we become too cowed by online masses of what we say online? Is there something about self-censorship that so I gave you those 6 words earlier, no fear, no anger, no envy. No fear is a big one sometimes. I have to remind myself of, because there's a difference between shock comments and being provocative, but actually trying to say what you feel and what you think. And how does that work online?
For me, my basic mindset is like, let's spread positivity. Like, there's so much content you can produce about positive stuff.
Yeah.
So unless it's totally necessary, let's not try to do any like negative content. So that's the basic mindset. But when I do have to talk about it, I become very, there's a good way of putting things, even if it's the same sentence, like you can speak it respectively, with respect and politely or diplomatically. You can choose the vocabulary, you can choose your tone and manner and stuff like that. I feel like I am a little bit skilled with that. So even when I do say stuff, I try to be respectful as possible. And people appreciate that. They know, like, this guy is not purely hating, or like this guy is not trying to spread spite or anything. He's just speaking his opinion. He's being polite about the other crowd as well, and I respect their opinions as well. So people, and it's just useless to use your energy on those folks. So yeah.
Don't what I learnt and heard was one more time. Let the asshole have the last word. There's no need to respond.
Right.
I find I've got a little group of people online that like to come after me for my columns more than anything, but I just think, okay, that's your thing, and just leave them and focus on the love instead. Because it's there. Are you scared of online comments and behavior? Is cancel culture real?
Now that you started a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I'm like a mini YouTuber, but I can say that like definitely there is, and I can be scared of it because it's like exists. But I'm also like, I don't really care a lot about like the bad things. But if they about the good comments, I do respond, and like I love them. But I think it's like they're spending their time and like energy like writing that bad comment. I don't really understand, but I don't care.
It's nice to focus on the positive ones, isn't it?
Yeah.
Somebody takes time out of their day.
Yeah.
Like, how many YouTube things do you watch, or columns do you read, or podcasts do you listen to?
True.
And then take a time to actually write a comment to that person.
It's really nice of them.
It is really nice, and it makes me feel that I should do it more sometimes.
Me too.
Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes I might share a couple of things on the Insta stories or things like that, and then it makes me think, how often have I been doing this to other people? How often? Because I know how good it makes me feel.
Right.
And I should pass that goodness on, or share the goodness.
Yeah. I've only put a handful of comments on YouTube, even being a YouTuber myself.
Yeah.
That hits hard. I should do it more. Yeah.
There we go. We've all got a little motivation for today.
Yeah.
Let's come up with a few questions towards the end. What parts of Korea do you think people misunderstand or get wrong? So there's a lot of international audience out there looking at your content, and you do a great job of breaking it down in long form. And what is there anything that people misunderstand or get wrong? There's need to set the record straight.
I've also talked about this in my podcast, but I feel like nowadays, because we've all seen the glory and shiny part of Korea, we've romanticized it, glorified it for a long time. People are now kind of done with that kind of content, and they're more flocking towards a little bit of negative content. So people exposing Korea, the realities of Korea, dark side of Korea, all that kind of stuff garners more views and more attention. And whereas I'm not trying to totally like flush that down, that's totally the reality. It does happen. Sometimes the sensationalism just misrepresents Korea, and I've seen that nowadays. Like I'm very careful about this subject, but there have been a lot of like homicide incidents, like, especially towards women,
Yep.
and there have been a lot of sexual crimes, including burning sun and all that kind of stuff. So when these like English newspapers are just reporting these back to back every single day, like there was a homicide of a young woman, like there was a date assault, there was burning sun, like a girl was drugged or whatever. People in Korea, like while that is a very big crime and is a very big problem, it doesn't mean like every single man out there or like every single like dating relationship is like an abusive relationship or anything. Everybody's not getting drugged or anything. But
Right.
suddenly I've been seeing, because these articles are just coming out and like TikTokers are always talking about it, suddenly I've been seeing a lot of people saying that Korea is like a dystopian society. Like it has the worst treatment for women. Like you can't go out at night. You're going to get drugged or raped, or you're going to get like dragged somewhere. And I don't want to totally like brush that off. Like I don't want to undermine it or anything, because there are actual cases like that. But it just doesn't do justice to the fact that Korea is actually very safe, and women can walk to the convenience stores in 새벽 2시, like after midnight, and you can roam around Hongdae or whatever without problems. And I just feel bad that the country is getting like a negative image because of these like one-off incidents happening here and there, and that I get the compilation effect. People are only seeing that, and that's kind of the stressful part. And I just talked about the safety issues about women, but not only that, but other things too. Like it just spreads into society, like racism or homophobia, all that kind of stuff. Like most of my friends, they're not racist at all. They're not homophobic at all. But they see, like, it's Pride Month right now. They see the parades and like the Christians on the opposite side, like saying, get away, go off, like it's illegal, it's a sin, all that kind of stuff. And they see on the internet, like some dude did a racist slur to somebody, and they just compile all of that. So Korea is racist, homophobic, it's misandrist, misogynist, everything.
Yeah.
And because I think it's the toll of becoming a very popular state, a popular country worldwide right now. It's like the side effect, and I think we should embrace that as well as constructive feedback. But when it gets blown out of proportion, then sometimes as a Korean myself, I'm like, oh, Korea's not like that actually. Like, so these people that haven't come to Korea might get wrong thoughts in their heads. And like, what if there was a teenage girl in America watching these reels in TikTok, and she dreamt of coming to Korea, but then she got afraid, like, oh, if I go to Korea, there's going to be a hidden camera in my Airbnb, and she decides not to come. That's like the unfortunate cases I'm talking about. So yeah.
People lose their opportunity because of those things. I actually wrote a column in defense. It was called "In Defense of Korean Men," and say that the young men that I know and that I teach and are my friends, they're kind of nice, warm, open-minded. They're pretty liberal in things. They've done military service and served their country. Korean men get a lot of smack online. I find sometimes with these ideas. Is Korea, say, as a young woman here?
Hot spot.
Well, that's why we have different voices.
What was the question?
David was suggesting that Korea, bad things do happen in Korea, like bad things happen everywhere, but that in general Korea can be quite safe and people can go to the 편의점, 새벽 2시, and things like that.
Yeah, I think if someone has to know like things like David said, they should be really like interested in Korea, because like if they only know a little about Korea, they think it's like just K-drama and just like beautiful things, like really cool things. And so I think that's reality that happens, but you don't have to approach that for the first time when you want to see Korea. That's not all you can see.
Do you feel safe here?
I do feel safe here because, especially because I came back from America, you can just like walk everywhere, like use like transportations and everything, so it's definitely safe. I told my friends that it's safe and it's a good place to travel. So I think it's like just a part of a Korea, and it definitely exists, but you don't really have to like focus on it. Yeah. And the sad thing was when my friends who was interested in K-pop, it was sad that they were like trying to like kind of hide it. They don't want to like let people know that I like K-pop. I love K-pop because like there's like Korean Boo or something. I've never heard about it, but yeah, I want them to be like, it's not a weird thing. So yeah.
Korea Boo is such a Western thing that if no, not just a Western thing, but it's a thing. But if I ask some of my Korean students, have you heard of Korea Boo? They're like, no. I say, is it possible for someone to love Korea too much? They're like, no. just love us. You want to do this, and like we have this idea of Ollie London and do I look like Jimin or something like this? But yeah, Korea Boo is not a thing.
Yeah,
here.
it's like no.
Yeah. I wrote a column and I called it Malm spacing because I was asking Koreans, what do you call it when you just leave your laptop at a coffee shop and then go out and smoke your vape and go across to the Pyeongjam and buy something and come back and your $1,000 laptop is still there? I'm like, what do you call that? And they're like, huh?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know that's not normal. People don't do that. When I arrived in Paris in February, I got an automatic message from SK saying, be careful of pickpockets.
Yeah.
As soon as I landed in Paris. And here, this is one of the things that like I just thought was one of the best things about living in Korea is the safety, not just walking late at night, but just 2 days ago, I left my card in the station, gas station.
Yeah.
Left it there. Came back next day, asked the adjuster, did I leave my card here? He's like, yeah, you did, you idiot. I was like, thank you so much. I feel safe with my possessions here as well.
Yeah. So in general, I think it's like a very, very safe society. Not coming from as a patriotic Korean, I think just objectively, I think it's very safe. There are a lot of validations from foreigners as well.
Yeah.
But I think it always gets the problem escalates when it's always about women's safety in particular. Like, you know, a lot of people agree that, you know, wallets, possessions, all that kind of stuff, it's pretty safe.
Not bikes.
Not bikes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Umbrellas.
No, not bikes. I actually got my electric scooter stolen.
Is that right?
Yeah, so it doesn't apply to bikes for some reason.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's a cultural phenomenon. But yeah, I can't speak on behalf of women because, you know, I'm not a woman myself. I haven't experienced that. But that's why I'm always careful. I get a lot of questions from the female audience. I have 98% female audience. And they're.
How do you feel about it? Tell me about that. That's interesting because that's a big. I mean, you're a handsome chap. Let's be clear.
No. I think it's not because of I'm handsome, but it's mostly like the Korean culture that is consumed in the West is mostly geared towards women. I think like K-dramas, romantic stuff, K-pop.
Okay.
Yeah, boy bands and all that. So. Yeah, I think it's just a natural thing. So 98% are women in my audience, and yeah, their number one question is like, is Korea safe? I'm about to travel there. So a lot of people still haven't come to Korea yet within my audience. And they always ask during live streams, is Korea safe? I've gotten that question like 10,000 times now, not even exaggerating. And I always tell them it's safe. It is safe. But then when I do say that, like there are some counters on the internet. Like sometimes I get clipped and he's like, oh, another guy mansplaining that Korea is safe. While there's sexual rape, like harassment everywhere, like, you know, in Hongdae and stuff. And after that, I just say like, you know, it's safe, but I can't speak on behalf of women. That's my like public answer now.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of frustrating that I can't say confidently that it's safe anymore because like there's so much, you know, TikTok reels or whatever saying like, you know, I got this bad experience in Korea and people consume that back to back and yeah, so.
I think there's a gamification that happens in society where we need content, and even like BBCs and things like this, like when BBC did a big expose on Burning Sun, and that thing should go out. There should be like attention paid to crimes, and I agree with that. Somebody, a member of my family, come in and went, "Oh my God, have you seen have you seen what BBC's done?" And I was like, yeah. And she was just terrified about the reputation of Korea that will go abroad, because sometimes I think we have a knowledge of Korea, or we live here, but if you're in Manchester, or if you're in Georgia or somewhere like that, and you know nothing about Korea, and you see one story per year, and it's that, it's like if I just thought of America as, I don't know, guns, trans, and Trump or something like that. But it's more than that, isn't it? It's a completely diverse and big country. Hardest thing about living in Korea?
Hardest thing?
So one of the best things, I think, is safety. We've talked about that, although it's hard. What's hard about being here?
Competition. For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just put this out. I love my country, but at the same time, I will not raise my kid here. That's affirmative. Like, you know, I am going to get married at some point in my life because I want children. But I know what the Korean education system is like. I've been through 초중고, 대학원, all here. So I know how competitive it is. And no offense to all Koreans, but that is not a youth. That is not what you call a youth. You're trapped in hagwons every single day from like 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. You wake up at like 7 and go to school again. And it's a rat race towards like the Korean SAT 수능. And that's your goal. And then after that, you go into college, you get like a breath of air, like drinking and all that kind of stuff. But in like 2 years, you're into like the job market as well. And you're aiming for Samsung or all those techie-ups conglomerates. And I just feel so bad about that. Like, you know, a youth, what I expect is like exploring what you want, like being creative, like, you know, having quality time with your family, you know, going outside and like, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like I was so jealous of people when I met when I was backpacking before the military. I had a brief like time frame of to go to Australia, and I was in like a guest house with bunker beds and stuff, and I talked to people over there, and some of them were like 18, 19, 20, and some of them were in their college years, and apparently they have something called like a leap year or gap year or whatever, and they just allocate that time to travel the world.
Nice.
Yeah, and that was just so fresh to me. Like, I'm here, I just finished a whole hell of a 10-year education during elementary to high school. I went into college. Now I was about to enjoy life, but the military is trying to drag me in. And now I'm enjoying my 1-week vacation in Australia. And these people are saying like, "Oh, yeah, I'm here to explore the world." And you know, back in my country, like we can choose not to go to college. I can make a bakery or whatever, and it just felt so different. And yeah, I guess there are perks of being a highly competitive society. Like, in average, people are like level-headed, they're intelligent, and society just develops as a whole. But in a personal level, I think it's just very dreadful, the competitiveness. Yeah.
As another Korean student, I can't agree more. I didn't realize that how competitive like the society is. Yeah. And I went to US as an exchange student, and I think that was my like gap year. It was really refreshing. I had such a good quality time thinking about like my career and everything. So definitely competition is the hardest thing here.
Yeah. And in general, I think there's just no nature here. You know, you're just in like cement buildings for your whole youth with a desk.
That's
and
true.
Your window to the world is just like your phone. That's it. I didn't even have smartphones back then. But yeah, compared to other places in the world, you're actually like the phrase touching grass.
Yes.
And, you know, like getting sunlight, playing tennis, whatever, you know. So
yeah, and when I was in US, my friends was like studying like math or something, so they were showing me the math problems and saying like, when did you learn this? And I was like, when I was in like, I I don't know,
elementary
like
school.
elementary
Yeah.
school, and they were like,
Yeah.
"What?
Yeah.
Are you sure?" And that was kind of shocking to
Did it
them.
make you feel smart, or just did it make you feel abused? you were a
Kinda
walking
in the middle.
stereotype.
Mixed feeling,
Yeah,
yeah.
kinda.
Because like interesting thing, when I was in America, I was in a class called GT. It's gifted and talented. I was number one always in math or whatever in my class. Came to Korea, I was last. I couldn't even follow the curriculum.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It's amazing the difference, and I think when I look at the PISA and standardized testing, is maybe it's not the way forward and things like that, but Korea does well on those things. It's people, like you say, it's people are educated and they do know things, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But the competition, my niece, nephew, and my kid, they tell us what rank they are in their school. They're constantly aware of like, oh, I'm number 7, I'm number 428 in English,
Yeah.
right? And all of these things, and it's that constant awareness, I think. In terms of touching grass,
Yeah.
my kids are an hour and 40 minutes away from us, and they're riding horses and playing golf and things like this. I have them out in the countryside. I'm like, just mountains and fresh air.
That's
and
how it should
those
be.
kind of things.
Yeah.
Just a little local school, and they go there. That's a really nice thing.
Yeah. And not even like just confining it to education itself. Like even after education, there's competition about like just how much you earn, like money wise. Like you compare each other's salaries, you compare each other's like apartments, where you live, what
Yeah.
car you drive, what luxury bags you have, like all that kind of
Also,
stuff.
like the marriage, like
Marriage.
who you marry.
Mm.
Like,
It's the public gate, it's the name shison, it's the nunchi, it's this awareness of other people. And if international students say to me, I feel like everyone's looking at me on the subway, I'm like, welcome to Korea.
Yeah.
That's what Korean people feel like you're being judged
Uh-huh.
on a constant thing. There was a wonderful interview that RM did with El Pas, the Spanish newspaper. Did you see that one?
No, I
yeah.
did not.
You did? It was brilliant because
I
they
really
said,
liked it.
hey, you guys are so stressed and working so hard and depressed in Korea. What's going on? And RM said, I'll paraphrase it, but he basically said, look, you guys in the West, you don't understand, right? You guys, England, France, Spain, you were going around the world colonizing people.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
That one. And he said, we had nothing. We had nothing.
Right.
All we had was ourselves. We had to work, and we worked. And he swore. I was like, go on, RM. He said, we worked fucking hard. And there are some downsides to this, but it's amazing to think that there was mud here, there was poverty here,
Yeah.
there was nothing here, and so I wonder if Korea can then slow down a little bit.
Exactly.
Wherever I don't know.
He definitely has a point. Like I think the hard-working mentality in
Yeah.
Koreans like definitely drove the country.
하면 돼.
Yeah.
Starting from the scratch.
Starting from scratch, the 새마을운동, 금모운동, everything like that, 한강's 기적, whatever. That definitely drove our economy up to here, and the infrastructure, the society, convenience, everything's top notch right now. But the side effects are showing now, and as you said, it's about time to slow down and give some breath to people to live. Actually,
Yeah.
So
The luxury of mental health.
luxury of mental health.
It wouldn't be thought about. And growing up during war, it was Sobam that taught me about this. Sonilhan Yorampam. She said, the psychologist, she said that when you're raised in colonized, like war, your parents don't give like education. They're not educated how to raise children or things like this. And there was this one video that I did with my students in the culture class. Do Asian parents say I love you?
No.
Which was like 70% of my class were like, yeah, this is right. Like, and so the test was this. Imagine you texted your mum like, Mama 사랑해. Like, what would happen? They were like,
Yeah.
she would
She'd be
phone
like,
me
"Do you have a
immediately.
problem?" Yeah.
Don't die.
Yeah,
What
don't,
did you
don't
do?
commit suicide. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so I think there's these changes now that Korea's getting a bit richer, a bit more educated, and it can have these values.
Yeah.
If you're president for one day, what are you going to do? David 대통령.
We're getting political. Aren't we?
It's just a weird, stupid question.
I know. A lot of things I want to do. I am actually a very political person. Let's see. There's so many things on my mind right now. There's so many problems to
While
fix.
you think about it, how do you feel about Korean democracy then? Because we've compared sort of safety in different cultures, and we have these two 80-year-olds fighting over power in the United States and things like that. Do you think Korean democracy is doing all right? Do you look on it positively, or do you look at it, you're shaking your head?
No,
Go on.
it's not right. I'm actually writing, like, I'm actually writing a sci-fi novel of
Awesome.
That's cool.
about the future where democracy has failed,
Okay.
because that's what I'm seeing right now. It's my personal take. I'm seeing, like, I know the indicators of success in a society is not economic growth or whatever, but at the end of the race, I feel like the communist countries right now with their revised models, like mixing in capitalism and all that, like China, for instance, they're excelling the democratic countries in terms of economic growth, because the decision making is just like, you know, the leaders just like pushing it through. Whereas democracy is like there's opposition, there's like always, you know, debates and stuff, and nothing gets done, right? So at the end, I feel like I'm dreading this future, and I'm putting into my novel saying like China is actually going to win the race. You know, it's gonna maybe colonize Asia or whatever. That's all in my imagination, but democracy is also failing, not just because of the speed and the lack of decision making. It's because people are getting more and more polarized. They're getting more aggressive in their opinions. They're blindfolded from the opposite side. They don't tolerate anything from the opposite side. So I think that's becoming a failure to the model of democracy as well. Like, you know, more and more fake news is coming on YouTube. People blindly believe it. My grandma believes every single fake news about like the 보수, you know, conservative side. So it's politicians are just fighting for the sake of politics, not for the betterness of the country. I feel that a lot, and so that's just showing, and it's I don't know how to fix it at all. But it's like a train you can't stop. I feel like that, and someday capitalism and democracy is going to hit a really, really big wall in my own sense, and in Korea in particular, I'm seeing a very big divide between the conservative and like liberals, and between age, gender as well. Everything is just segmented. Nobody tolerates any other group, and everybody's always thinking of impeaching the president or sending somebody to jail. That's their only agenda and focus. Nobody's thinking about the betterness of society. And when you're fixated on that, then the outcomes are just obvious. It's not going to be good, right? So.
What's a hallmark of a good society? What does a good society? Because it's very easy to point out flaws, and it's great that you do. What's a trait? What's a factor or a hallmark of a good society?
I think definitely like understanding other sides, the ability to have a constructive debate without belittling or cursing on the other person. Trying to find a middle ground and stuff. Now, not trying to like power trip the other or something like that. And those kind of aspects we all just lost in our society, in Korean society as well. And people might call me like a socialist or whatever, but I always look at the Northern European countries, and they're just doing really well with their welfare models and all that. It's very socialist, but they don't have high competition. They respect doctors and construction workers and like cooks. They're all equal. They pay a lot of tax, but it's a sustained society. Their happiness indicators are always at top, while Korea is always at the bottom. And I think politics take a big part in that, like the social model and everything. So, yeah, definitely. And I heard there's a lot of parties there, like.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a model we can maybe reference to as well.
It's a wider spectrum.
Exactly.
I think. Whereas the Scandinavian countries often come the top of the happiness indicators, they're also the top of the antidepressant usage thing. So the question comes: are they happy or are they high? Which is a serious question. And my Scandinavian students go, "Yeah, right. Like there's a lot of pill popping and things like this." I think. It's an interesting thing that why has happiness become the value that we look for in life? We're all looking for happiness, and that's what we want. But is that the goal? Is that the meaning? Sometimes we look at you're looking at China's rise in terms of economics. It'd be interesting to measure society in terms of deathbed confessions. What do people say on their deathbed? Like when they're passing and they're going, because old people used to live with young people. We used to have 3 generations under one roof, and we used to do these. What are people saying about life in a country? as they finish. I think that would be a really interesting to study, to see how those things have moved. One of the things I like about is that society prospers when people plant trees under whose shade they will not sit. We're very much interested in what will benefit me and what will be good for me. Sometimes we have to say, well, this is good for other people. This is, I think socialism, democracy, capitalism, I think they're all creaking. We're all in these kind of stages, and if somebody tells me, oh, I'm socialist, I'm like, that's not progressive. That's a really old idea, right? Antonio Gramsci said, the old age is dying, the new world has yet to be born, now is the time of monsters. And so I think the old political and economic models, they worked, but now they're struggling. And we need a new one. And you ask somebody, give us a new economic model, and they're like, give us a new political model. But that's so important to me. There must be something new, and we're not there yet. Democracy, China taking over, the future. Are you writing a science fiction novel?
I'm ready to read your novel.
It's going to be out in 10 years.
And then it will just be a real diary.
Wait. Okay, circling back to the question. Sorry.
Day as a president. As a president.
As a president, I think.
You're a great MC. Well done.
I think the biggest problem, the most imminent problem right now, is fixing the national pension fund. Yeah, that's definitely, like, our demographic pyramid has reversed now. There are more retired people than work labor people, so they won't be able to sustain society, and the pension system is going to topple down. So we need to fix that real fast because it's demotivating the youth as well, the younger people as well. Like, people like me are already concerned. Am I going to get my pension? Yeah. It's going to go, bankrupt. Yeah, and why am I paying my taxes right now? So I think that's like the biggest thing that should be fixed at the moment. And in a more comedic manner, I think I would just try to get rid of the number of politicians. Like, I don't know what they're doing. Yeah, are they actually working? I don't know. When
I am king, you will be first against the wall. This is the vibe that I'm getting from you, David.
Dictator. But I've been, okay, this kind of behind the scenes stuff, but I hope people don't go digging into my past, but I've worked with a lot of government facilities and politicians as well. What I've noticed doing projects with them is, like, they're all in it for their personal interests. We have a saying in Korea: the country is not poor. There's just a lot of thieves. Yeah, we pay a lot of tax, and the country is able to sustain itself. It's just that it's leaking, and that's from a lot of government parties and government organizations and politicians. They're always trying to leverage that and make a diversion and put that money into those person's pockets and that company's pockets and get some bribery in the back. And I've witnessed that a lot, and I felt like, wow, my tax money is all going into these people's pockets. So it's become a point where I'm like, if this is how the game is played, then I'm not gonna be just become a hoku. I don't know what that is in English. I'm as a content creator, there are a lot of opportunities where I can get government money as well. And if the public saw the results of what these content creators are putting out and what kind of money they're earning from these government programs, I feel like everybody would be outraged. Yeah. But if everybody's stealing, then why am I just gonna stay there and not get any bread on my table as well? So I'm like, okay, if there's a policy for me, if there's subsidies for me, I'm gonna get it too. So I feel like that's becoming a vicious circle. I'm a culprit of that too, but it's just how everybody needs to survive, and I think the system is just broken there, and tax money is just leaking. So put a better constraint or restrictions, regulations on how tax money is used, more monitoring, and that kind of stuff is needed, I think. Yeah.
And I completely agree. It's weird. It's nice to go from K-pop to politics. I wasn't expecting to get into the political side, but I think we need. I agree with you. Fewer career politicians. We need people that are not in it for themselves.
Yeah.
And I think more and more talented people, they're finding it better to go into the private sector because they can earn so much money. And their personal lives won't be scrutinized.
Yeah.
If you go into politics, you, especially in Korea, you run the risk of like prison and jail,
Yeah.
and your family will be torn apart through it. And so it's only attracting a certain type of people. And if you're smart and educated, why would you go into politics? There's less money and there's more risk, and so that's a really sad thing. This is maybe also a little bit behind the scenes, but I work with some government agencies, and I know that the stuff that they give me is just put into Papago and then sent to me and said, can you sort this out in English, please? And they haven't gone through it, and pittance. Money is pittance. And I'm like, how are you guys do? This is how you're working. You just copy paste into Papago, send it to me. So the only reason I do it is in case I ever get in trouble. I say, guys, remember me? I did some work for you. But it's that's a sad thing. How about Soyun 대통령? President. What are you going to do? You're going to line up all the politicians like David?
That's a hard question.
I know. What do you think of politics and democracy in general here?
I had a chance to like step back and look into like Korean society when I was in US. And I think the biggest problem now is the polarization. So I want to figure out that if I can, as a president maybe. Maybe.
Agreed. Gen Z is not just one generation; it's a couple of generations. It's the boys and the girls, and people are afraid to speak publicly now because they can be clipped and soundbited and do these things. We need to get back to talking to each other just like this, I think. This has been brilliant. I've loved it. I've laughed. David, to close up, and I'll ask you as well, Soyun, a movie, a drama, a book, a song, give us some recommendations. What should we listen to? What should
BTS.
we watch?
Just kidding. Definitely BTS. But
RM's Groin. Did you see that?
Yeah,
It become like an English boo.
Yeah, RM's recent album is like, it hits really differently. It's very artistic and it gives me like indie vibes and stuff. So definitely recommend that. But apart from that, I'll just recommend you my, not my favorite, but I think the best movie in Korean cinema. I think it is definitely Old Boy. OG. Have you seen it?
No, I don't know.
I was expecting, like, not a lot of young people have seen it.
Yeah.
It's from Park Chan-wook. He's one of the legendary, amazing. Along with Bong Joon-ho. I think he's like one of the top 3 directors. But Old Boy is definitely, cinema-wise, plot-wise, everything's just flawless, I believe. And the shock I got when I first saw it, like at the end, when the reveal comes, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And the vibes about it, the acting from Choi Min-sik, everything is just like incomparable. So I would recommend Old Boy. It's a little bit, there's a lot of profanity and there's a lot of like, 잔인함, what do you call it? Like a lot of stabbing and killing and all that kind of stuff. But
scenes of a sexual nature as well. And, it's extreme.
Yeah, it is extreme, but I think it's a very big part of Korean cinema history. Along with that, I think Memories of Murder.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, those 2 are definitely my top 2. From Bong Joon-ho as well. Parasite is good, but like it doesn't really compare to 살인의 추억 in my opinion. But those 2 would be my recommendations.
Memories of Murder, when Song Kang-ho, he's like walking down a hill and just flying kicks someone. He just jumps. Just the violence, the swearing, the spitting, and you realize what kind of society it was, and then breaking the 4th wall at the end.
Breaking the 4th wall at the end. Oh, that's a spoiler. Actually, that's like the epic moment of that movie. But
yeah, well, I'm allowed to spoil 20-year-old movies. Like, if I'm not allowed to spoil,
have you seen 살인의 추억? Oh no, it's ruined for her.
Yeah, you won't watch it anyway.
No, you're gonna watch it. You need to watch it. Yeah.
Have you seen 헤어질 결심?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was Park Chan-wook is a genius.
Genius.
He's
Yeah, yeah.
absolute genius, Park Chan-wook. I think he did JSA as well,
Mm-hmm.
Old Boy,
Right.
Agashi.
It's really artistic.
Yeah, he's just fantastic. He really is. If somebody out there hasn't seen a Park Chan-wook film, go and watch that. So a book, a movie, a drama, something.
To start with K-pop, BTS is definitely a good start, and I'll recommend go check out Day6's music. And for K-drama, I always say Mr. Sunshine. I think it's a great like K-drama with a bit of like history
Right.
with like America, Japan, and Korea. So I think it's a great K-drama.
It's my mum's favorite.
That's
My
a good
mum likes
recommendation.
I love it
How many times have you seen it?
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. Kim Tae-ri, Lee Byung-hun. Yeah, really good. Really good. Guys, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And chill. That's it. Good. Thank you. That was really cool.
Sorry for the coffee.
There's something beautiful about that. There's something beautiful.